What happens aback one of Hollywood's biggest stars gets absolutely blindsided on a live television by questions that cantankerous every accessible line. What happens aback a host decides to bandy professionalism out the window and goes for the jugular instead. Tonight, we're diving into the atomic action that had Jennifer Lopez affronted off Jimmy Kimmel's set, abrogation millions of admirers abashed and the ball apple buzzing. This isn't a Loof Edition celebrity account gone wrong. This is a masterclass in how bound things can circling a back account goes out the window. Before we get into this absurd story, accomplish abiding you hit that subscribe button and beat a animadversion beneath because you're not activity to accept what unfolds. Trust me, you'll appetite to stick about for every distinct chat of this alternation wreck. The date was set like any added Tuesday night taping of Jimmy Kimmel Live. The admirers was active with excitement, cameras were rolling, and Jennifer Lopez had aloof absolved out to clap applause. She looked absolutely beaming in a Beauté's emerald blooming dress, her signature smile lighting up the flat as she coiled to the crowd. Aggregate seemed altogether accustomed as she acclimatized into the bedfellow chair, bridged her legs alluringly and adjusting her beard with that assured adroitness she's accepted for. Jimmy Kimmel, animated widely, waited for the acclaim to die bottom water for aptitude advanced with what appeared to be 18-carat enthusiasm. Jennifer Lopez, everybody, he announced, gesturing a join his bedfellow as the army connected their appreciation. Thank you so abundant for actuality tonight, J-Lo. You attending absolutely absurd as always. Jennifer's smile was balmy and 18-carat as she responded. Thank you, Jimmy. It's abundant to be here. I've been attractive advanced to this. Well, we've been attractive advanced to accepting you, Kimmel replied, ambiguity through his agenda cards with able ease. You know, there's so abundant to allocution about tonight. Your new projects, your music, your business ventures. But first, I accept to ask about article that's been all over the tabloids lately. The about face in Jennifer's announcement was attenuate but apparent to anyone advantageous abutting attention. Her smile remained, but article abaft her eyes changed. A slight restriction bit by bit into her posture. Oh, actuality we go, she said with her ablaze beam that didn't absolutely adeptness her eyes. What are they adage now? Kimmel chuckled, but there was an bend to it that hadn't been there moments before. Well, you apperceive how it is. Body's adulation to talk, but I'm analytical about your thoughts on some of the criticism you've been accepting about your contempo performances. Some bodies are adage you're not absolutely bringing the aforementioned activity you acclimated to. The catechism abashed in the air like a challenge. Jennifer's able smile faltered for a loofer atom of her additional afore she recovered, but the accident was done. The accent had been set, and it wasn't the respectful, fun account atmosphere that had been promised during the pre-show discussions. I'm sorry. What absolutely are you apropos to? Jennifer asked, her articulation advancement its affable tone, but with a new atmosphere of steel. Because I've been accepting annihilation but absolute acknowledgement from my audiences and the bodies I assignment with, Kimmel's beam widened, and there was article about bloodthirsty about it now. Well, I mean, let's be honest here. You're not 25 anymore. Some bodies are apprehensive if maybe it's time to, acclimatize expectations a little bit. Maybe focus added on the business ancillary of things rather than aggravating to accumulate up with artists bisected your age. The flat fell into an afflictive silence. Alike the admirers seemed to faculty that article had shifted. Their beforehand activity replaced by a close quiet. Jennifer's hands, which had been comatose accidentally on the armrest of her chair, now absorbed it hardly tighter. Alibi me, she said, her articulation bottomward to her alarmingly quiet level. Are you actively sitting actuality analytic my adeptness to accomplish because of my age? Hey, I'm aloof allurement the questions that are on everyone's mind, Kimmel said, captivation up his calmly and apish defense, but still animated like he was adequate himself. I mean, we've all apparent the videos online. Some of the ball moves aren't absolutely as articulate as they acclimated to be. The vocals assume a little artificial sometimes. I'm aloof apprehensive if you've noticed it, too. Jennifer's jaw tightened, and for a moment, she looked like she was artful her abutting move actual carefully. The able in her was wearing with the beastly actuality who had aloof been angered on civic television. Aback she batten again, her articulation was controlled, but icy. Jimmy, I've been in this business for over 3 decades. I've awash millions of records, starred in endless films, and congenital assorted acknowledged businesses. If you anticipate I'm activity to sit actuality and let you boldness me on your show, you're mistaken. But Kimmel wasn't a betment down. If anything, He seemed emboldened by her response. Look, I account aggregate you've accomplished. I absolutely do. But appear on, we're all adults here. Can't we accept an honest chat about the absoluteness of crumbling in Hollywood? I mean, it happens to anybody eventually. The absoluteness of aging. Jennifer's articulation rose hardly and she leaned advanced in her chair. The absoluteness is that I'm at the top of my game, and I assignment harder than bodies bisected my age. The absoluteness is that you're sitting actuality aggravating to breach me bottomward for what? Ratings, entertainment. The admirers was absolutely bashful now. Analysis they were witnessing article unprecedented. This wasn't the animated celebrity badinage they had expected. This was axis into article abundant added serious, abundant added personal. Kimmel's acknowledgement would prove to be the moment aggregate absolutely went off the rails. Instead of acquainted he had pushed too far. Instead of arms and acknowledgement or counsel the chat in an altered direction, he angled bottomward with an animadversion that would accomplish account about the world. I'm aloof adage maybe. It's time to be astute about area you are in your career, he said, his accent acceptable added arrogant with anniversary word. I mean, how connected can you accumulate assuming you're still the Jenny from the block? At some point, don't you anticipate it becomes a little desperate? The chat atrocious hit Jennifer like a concrete blow. Her eyes flashed with a acerbity that had been architecture aback the account began. And in that moment, anybody in the flat knew they were about to attest an article explosive. The anxiously complete bluff of celebrity affability was about to crumble completely, and Jimmy Kimmel had no abstraction what he had aloof unleashed. Section 2. The blackout that followed was deafening. Jennifer Lopez sat altogether still for what acquainted like an eternity. Her eyes bound on Jimmy Kimmel with an acuteness that could accept broiled steel. Aback she assuredly spoke. Her articulation was so quiet that the flat microphones had to ache to aces it up. But every chat agitated the weight of decades of acquaintance ambidextrous with bodies who underestimated her. Did you aloof alarm me desperate? She asked, anniversary chat abstinent and deliberate. Did you absolutely aloof sit there and alarm me atrocious on civic television? Kimmel UNK's beam faltered for the aboriginal time aback the account began. But his airs kept him from acquainted the crisis he was in. I mean, if the shoe fits, he said with a absolve that was meant to attending casual, but came above as dismissive. Look, I'm not aggravating to be beggarly here. I'm aloof actuality honest. Isn't that what acceptable television is about? Honest conversations. Jennifer's beam was articulate and humorless. Honest conversations. Is that what you alarmed this? You ambuscade me with all his questions, accomplished comments about my age like I'm some done-up has-been, and afresh you alarm me atrocious aback I avert myself. That's your abstraction of honest television? Hey, I didn't abode the headlines, Kimmel said, gesturing vaguely adjoin his board area his agenda cards lay scattered. I'm aloof allurement about what bodies are already talking about. Isn't it bigger to abode these things head-on rather than pretend they don't exist? The arrogant accent in his articulation was apparent now, and Jennifer's accord was blind by a thread. She uncrossed her legs and leaned forward, her aspect alive from relaxed. Celebrity to addition accessible for battle. What bodies are talking about? She repeated, her articulation assent with anniversary word. You beggarly what abridged writers are authoritative up to advertise magazines and get clicks. You beggarly the debris that Absathian bodies advance online because they can't angle to see a woman accomplish for 30 years straight. That's what you appetite to accept an honest chat about? Kimmel captivated up his calmly again, but this time his action looked beneath assured and added like addition aggravating to calm bottomward an affronted animal. Okay, let's booty it bottomward a cleft here. I didn't apprehend this was such a acute affair for you. Sensitive. Jennifer's articulation absurd like a whip. You anticipate this is about actuality sensitive. This is about respect, Jimmy. This is about basal beastly decency, article you acutely don't understand. The admirers was alive uncomfortably in their seats. Now, this wasn't the ball they had active up for. Some bodies were attractive about nervously, as if they accepted aegis to footfall in at any moment. Others were affairs out their phones, acquainted that they were witnessing article that would be talked about for years to come. But Kimmel, whether out of antipathy or a complete abridgment of awareness, absentatively to advance alike further. Look, I get that this is adamantine to hear, but sometimes the accuracy hurts. You're Jennifer Lopez. You're a legend, but alike legends accept to face absoluteness eventually. Madonna went through this. Shia went through this. It's a aloof allotment of the business. Don't you cartel analyze me to added women as if we're all the same. Jennifer snapped, her able affectation assuredly bottom-ward completely. Don't you cartel sit there and act like you're accomplishing me some affectionate of favor by calumniating me to my face. And don't you cartel pretend this is about accuracy aback, it's absolutely about your own affecting charge to breach bottom-ward acknowledged women. Kimmel UNK's face ablaze red. And for the aboriginal time aback the adversity began, he looked absolutely affronted rather than smugly amused. Now ascendancy on aloof a minute. I've had affluence of acknowledged women on this appearance and I've never had any problems with them. Maybe the botheration isn't me. Maybe the botheration is that you can't handle a little criticism. The words are bashed in the air like a lit fuse, and anybody in the flat seemed to ascendancy their breath, cat and mouse for the explosion. Jennifer stared at him for a connected moment, and aback she batten again. Her articulation was baleful calm. A little criticism, she afresh slowly. Is that what you anticipate this is? You accompany me on your appearance beneath the pretense of a accustomed interview. Afresh absorb the absolute time analytic my talent, my relevance, my age, and my career choices. You alarm me desperate. You advance I should retire. And you analyze me to added women as if we're all changeable genitalia in your little ball machine. And you alarm that a little criticism? I'm aloof accomplishing my job, Kimmel said defensively. But his articulation had absent abundant of its beforehand confidence. Sometimes that agency allurement boxy questions. If you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be accomplishing interviews. The adventurousness of his account seemed to shock alike him as anon as the words labored his mouth. But it was too backward to booty them back. Jennifer UNK's eyes widened in disbelief, and for a moment she looked like she couldn't absolutely action what she had aloof heard. If I can't handle it, she said, her articulation about aloft a whisper, but somehow added alarming than if she had been shouting. If I can't handle it, Jimmy, I've been administration bodies like you my absolute career. I've been ambidextrous with men who anticipate they can abate me, abolish me, and boldness me aback I was a jailbait aggravating to accomplish it in this business. The aberration is best of them were acute abundant to do it abaft my aback instead of to my face. On civic television, she stood up abruptly, her armchair abrading adjoined the attic with an acrid complete that echoed through the bashful studio. The movement was so abrupt and absolute that several admirers' associates absolutely gasped. Kimmel looked up at her from his desk, and for the aboriginal time aback the account began, there was article-like abhorrence in his eyes. You apperceive what the absolute botheration is here, Jimmy. Jennifer continued, aerial over him now with all the attendance and ability that had fabricated her a brilliant for 3 decades. The absolute botheration is that you're a small, abashed man who gets his bliss from aggravating to accomplish able women feel small. You adumbrate abaft your board and your jokes and your affected smile. But beneath it all, you're aloof addition annoyer who can't angle the actuality that I've able added in my career than you anytime will in yours. Kimmel UNK's aperture opened and bankrupt like a angle asthmatic for air, but no words came out. The tables had angry completely. The man who had been so assured and authoritative aloof account beforehand now looked like a adolescent who had been bent accomplishing article wrong. And the affliction part, Jennifer continued, her articulation growing stronger with anniversary word, is that you absolutely anticipate you're clever. You anticipate your actuality anxious and provocative. Aback absolutely your aloof actuality atrocious and small-minded. You anticipate disturbing me bottom-ward will somehow body you up, but all you've done is appearance anybody absolutely who you absolutely are. The flat was so quiet that the hum of the cameras seemed loud in comparison. Jennifer looked about at the audience, abounding of whom were staring at her with an admixture of shock and admiration. Afresh she angry aback to Kimmel, who was still sitting abaft his desk, attractive like he admired he could disappear. I've been in this business connected abundant to apperceive aback addition is aggravating to accomplish a name for themselves at my expense, she said, her articulation acid through the blackout like a blade. But what you don't assume to accept is that I didn't get area I am by absolution men like you airing all over me. I got actuality by continuing up for myself, by ambitious respect, and by never anytime absolution anyone accomplish me feel beneath than what I am. She paused, absolution her words bore in. And aback she batten again, her articulation was abounding with a quiet acerbity that was somehow added adverse than any scream could accept been. So, here's what's activity to happen, Jimmy. I'm activity to airing off this date with my address intact. And your activity to sit there and anticipate about what affectionate of actuality you appetite to be because appropriate now you're assuming the apple that you're absolutely the affectionate of man that women like me accept being angry adjoin our absolute lives. Kimmel assuredly begin his voice, but it came out as a weak, a bashed attack to achieve ascendancy of a bearings that had coiled absolutely above his grasp. Now let's aloof calm bottomward here. This is still my appearance, and I anticipate you overreacting to what was aloof declared to be a accustomed account conversation. The chat overreacting was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Jennifer's arch-airtie to join him with such force that several bodies in the advanced row absolutely leaned aback in their seats. Her eyes blazed with a acerbity that had been architecture for the absolute adverse interview. And aback she spoke. Her articulation agitated the abounding weight of every insult, every slight, and every moment of boldness she had endured. Overreacting, she said. And the way she arresting anniversary affricate fabricated it complete like her anathema word. Jimmy, you accept spent the aftermost 15 accounts systematically aggravating to breach me bottomward on civic television, analytic aggregate from my aptitude to my age to my relevance. And you anticipate I'm overreacting. You anticipate calling a woman atrocious and done up as aloof accustomed account conversation. Kimmel confused uncomfortably in his chair, assuredly appearing to but that he had beyond a band he couldn't uncross. I never said you were done up. I was aloof allurement questions that the admirer's ability be apprehensive about. It's what allocution appearance hosts do. No, Jimmy, Jennifer said, her articulation assent to her akin that allowable absorption from every actuality in that studio. What allocution appearance hosts do is amusement their guests with respect. What allocution appearance hosts do is actualize an ambience area bodies feel adequate administration their belief and announcement they work. What you do is ambuscade women and try to abase them for your own entertainment. She took a footfall afterpiece to his desk, and Kimmel absolutely pushed his armchair back slightly, as if he was abashed she ability adeptness above and grab him. The ability activating had confused so absolutely that the man who had been so assured and authoritative aloof accounter now looked like he was shrinking into his chair. You appetite to apperceive what's absolutely desperate, Jimmy. Jennifer continued, her articulation growing added able with anniversary word. What's atrocious is a middle-aged man who gets his bliss from aggravating to accomplish acknowledged women feel small. What's atrocious is ambuscade abaft your board and your writers and your affected admirers' amusement while you breach bottomward bodies who accept able added than you anytime will. The admirers was absolutely bashful now, blind on every word. Some bodies had their phones out recording what they aimlessly knew was activity to be a celebrated moment in television. Others were artlessly staring in admiration at watching one of the world's biggest stars absolutely annihilate a allocution appearance host on his own show. Kimmel fabricated one aftermost atrocious attack to achieve control. Look, I anticipate we're accepting a little agitated abroad here. Why don't we aloof bootier animation and maybe allocution about your new projects instead? I'm abiding the admirers with adulation to apprehend about what you're alive on. Jennifer laughed, but it was a complete absolutely bare of humor. Oh, now you appetite to allocution about my projects. Now you appetite to appearance absorption in my assignment afterwards you've spent the absolute account analytic whether I'm alike accordant anymore. You anticipate you can aloof caster about face and pretend the aftermost 15 account didn't happen. I'm aggravating to accord us both a way out of this, Kimmel said. And for the aboriginal time, there was 18-carat agony in his voice. We can deliver this account if we aloof move on an allocution about article else. A way out. Jennifer's articulation accomplished a acme that seemed to ample every bend of the studio. Jimmy, there is no way out of this. You fabricated your best aback you absentatively to boldness me. You fabricated your best aback you alleged me desperate. You fabricated your best aback you appropriate I should retire and acclimatize abroad agilely like some antique from the past. She paused, attractive about the flat at the cameras, the crew, and the audience, all of whom were watching her with captivated attention. Aback she batten again. Her articulation was bright and able and abounding with the affectionate of ascendancy that comes from 30 years of angry for account in an industry that doesn't accord it easily. But here's what you didn't calculation on, Jimmy. You didn't calculation on the actuality that I'm not activity to sit actuality and booty it. You didn't calculation on the actuality that I'm activity to angle up for myself and appearance anybody watching absolutely what happens aback you try to breach bottomward a woman who has spent her absolute career abnegation to be broken down. Kimmel opened his aperture to respond. But Jennifer captivated up her hand, and the action was so advantageous that he absolutely fell bashful mid-breath. I'm not finished, she said, her articulation acid through the air like a sword. You see, Jimmy, the botheration with men like you is that you anticipate you can say whatever you appetite to women, and we'll aloof smile and booty it because we're declared to be beholden for the befalling to be on your little show. You anticipate you can catechism our talent, our age, our relevance, our choices, and we'll aloof sit there and nod forth like acceptable little guests. She befuddled her head, and there was article about pitying in her announcement as she looked bottomward at him. But what you don't accept is that women like me didn't get area. We are by actuality acceptable little guests. We got actuality by angry for every opportunity, by proving ourselves over and over again, and by never anytime absolution anyone accomplish us feel like we don't belong. The blackout in the flat was so complete that the complete of Jennifer UNK, as heels be to join the attic seemed to answer as she took addition footfall adjoin Kimmel's desk. So, here's what's activity to happen, she said, her articulation bottomward to her akin that was somehow added alarming than if she had been shouting. I'm activity to airing off this stage, and anybody watching is activity to see absolutely what affectionate of man you absolutely are. They're activity to see that abaft all the jokes and the smiles and the affected charm. Your aloof addition annoyer who gets off on aggravating to accomplish able women feel powerless. Kimmel fabricated one final affecting attack to save face. Jennifer, please, let's aloof accomplishment the interview. We can adapt out annihilation you don't like. This doesn't accept to air the way it happened. The advancement seemed to affront her added than anything, abroad he had said all night. Her eyes flashed with renewed fury, and aback she spoke, her articulation was abounding with a abhorrence that was palpable. Edit it out, she afresh incredulously. You anticipate I appetite to adumbrate what happened actuality tonight? You anticipate I'm abashed of continuing up for myself, Jimmy? This is absolutely what I appetite bodies to see. I appetite them to see what happens aback you boldness Jennifer Lopez. I appetite them to see that I don't aback bottomward from bullies, alike aback they accept their own television shows. She angry adjoined the audience, acclamation them anon for the aboriginal time aback the adversity began. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like aback a man tries to abate a woman and fails. This is what it looks like aback addition underestimates absolutely who they're ambidextrous with. Afresh she angry aback to Kimmel, and her final words to him were delivered with a calm, algid acerbity that seemed to benumb the air in the studio. And Jimmy, aback you assume so anxious about bluntness and accepting absolute conversations, let me be absolutely honest with you. You are affecting alibi for a host, and a like worse alibi for a man. And if you anticipate I'm activity to sit actuality one added additional and accept to your garbage, you're out of your abuse mind. She paused, absolution the words bore in, and afresh delivered the band that would be replayed millions of times above amusing media and account outlets about the world. So, you apperceive what, Jimmy? You. The words rang out above the bashful flat like a gunshot. For a moment, Cypher moved, Cypher breathed, Cypher fabricated a sound. A fresh Jennifer Lopez angry on her heel and absolved to join the avenue with all the adroitness and address of the superstar she had consistently been and consistently would be. Her heels clicked to join the attic in her abiding accent as she fabricated her way above the stage, accomplished the abashed audience. Accomplished the abashed aggregation members, accomplished the cameras that were still rolling and capturing every additional of her boastful exit. She didn't attending back. She didn't hesitate. She didn't accord Jimmy Kimmel or anyone abroad in that flat edition moment of her time or attention. And as the flat doors bankrupt abaft her, abrogation Jimmy Kimmel sitting abandoned at his board in advance of a bashful admirers and an aggregation that didn't apperceive what to do next. One affair was bright clear. Jennifer Lopez had aloof delivered the best adverse appraisal in allocution appearance history, and Jimmy Kimmel would never balance from it. So, what do you think? Was Jennifer Lopez appropriate to airing off the show? Or did Jimmy Kimmel accept a point about allurement boxy questions? Bead your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you appetite added atomic celebrity belief like this one, and let me apperceive what added Hollywood confrontations you'd like to apprehend about next. Trust me, this industry is abounding of moments like these, and I'm aloof accepting started.